those shoes and I will wear that dress. Oh.
I know that true beauty lies within, but when you do see someone getting an epic makeover, you need to give them due credit. On that note, here are the top 25 glam-up transformations in the movies. Anne Hathaway is a phenomenal actress and an even more phenomenal beauty. Yeah, she's truly blessed because other people have to rely on going viral for their morning routines involving banana peels and dipping their faces in ice water. It's odd that I'm kicking off such a video with her because you can do whatever you want to her, but she's still gonna look pretty. However, in The Devil Wears Prada, you can see that Andrea Sachs is shown as a rather vanilla personality. I mean, she's still super cute, but after she gets her makeover, she becomes the epitome of fashion and class. The sheer look on Emily Blunt's lazily named Emily Charlton kinda says all that needs to be said.
Are you wearing the
Chanel boots? Yeah, I am.
Her jaw dropped faster than Andrew Garfield dropped Emma Stone in The Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, technically it wasn't a drop, but I just had to find a way to make that reference.
What do you think?
I think we better get out of here before my girlfriend sees me.
Lady Boggs, get your cute butt down here!
Wear that dress. Oh, kiss me.
Rachel Lee Cook may not be a very familiar name now to the newer generation, but this one makeover scene had all the boys locked in back in the 90s. Lainey Boggs is the typical case of the girl with glasses who suddenly becomes pretty once you take them off. Her new look definitely had Zack in a gaze, but what I feel is really important is that she was being shown as a different version of herself and not an improved one. Well, the awkward fall from the stairs kinda cemented that fact, but you get what I mean, don't you? Let me just say that Lainey too is quite pretty even before her makeover.
Excuse me? Thank you. For a minute there, I forgot why I avoided places like this and people like you.
Avoided us? Honey, look around you. To everyone here who matters, you're vapor. A waste of perfectly good yearbook space.
Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet. Pretty woman, give your smile to me.
Julia Roberts made a lot of men fall in love with her, but I'd say her role as Vivian Ward in Pretty Woman was what made her a global icon. Now, I can go on and on about this movie, which had a very lengthy casting story, but I'll just focus on the massive makeover Vivian gets when Edward decides to spend an obscene amount of money for her outfits.
We're going to be spending an obscene amount of money in here. So we're going to need a lot more help sucking up to us because that's what we really like. You understand?
The makeover obviously made her look like royalty, but what made this scene really work was the way Vivian got her revenge over the mean sales girl who didn't attend to her previously. Yeah, that woman blew a huge sale because of her attitude, so let this be a lesson on not judging the book by its cover.
I was in here yesterday. You wouldn't wait on me? You work on commission, right? Yes. Big mistake. Big. Huge. I have to go shopping now.
Now, wait a minute. Just a minute. Don't stop. This is my second and last encounter with you lunatics. You just keep your hands off me, all of you.
You know, I've been really wanting to cover Audrey Hepburn in one of my lists for a long time, and here's my chance to finally do it. She's got to have one of the prettiest faces in all of history, so for her to transform from a geeky little cutie to an absolute stunner in funny face, it was a delight to watch. I'd actually like to see a remake of this film, but no one, and I mean no one, could ever take Audrey's place in this role. She's just too perfect and simply too pretty. Her character Jo is shown as a fun, straightforward person, and she lives up to that reputation right from the moment she mocks the fashion and modeling industry. I know that's kind of ironic considering how Audrey herself has been such an influential figure in this world, with relevance even today.
What did I tell you? You look absolutely fabulous. How does it feel?
It feels wonderful, but it's not me.
The hair, the dress, it's perfection.
Miss Doolittle, you look beautiful.
Thank you, Colonel Pickering.
Don't you think so, Higgins?
Well, here she is again in a movie that came out 7 years after Funny Face. My Fair Lady starts Audrey Hepburn off as a young flower seller with a Cockney accent, but soon enough, she turns into a princess and charms all of us. This entrance of hers is my favourite moment in the entire movie. I really like the moment when Higgins pauses by the door and then goes back to offer her arm to Eliza. It's a beautiful gesture and makes me want to be reborn in the 60s. Eliza is obviously a new woman here, but full credit goes to Hepburn for pulling off her dresses with such style and elegance. She isn't a fashion icon for nothing, you know. I also read somewhere that when she walked down the stairs in that first take, the cast and crew gasped before they cheered and gave her an applause. This is unverified, so don't take my word for it.
All right, turn around.
I know it's a bad break for everyone involved.
Think I'm done?
Will I be twirling tonight?
Save it for the end.
You would have been the most beautiful bride. Let's go show them.
Okay, so this one was more of a costume change rather than a physical makeover, but it surely applies to this list because of how the reception towards the character changed. The Mockingjay dress is easily one of the most important props in the Hunger Games franchise, and Jennifer Lawrence makes it count when it's her turn to be presented on the big stage. Yes, it's supposed to be this weird interview sort of thing, and while Katniss first shows up in a wedding dress, Cinna had always intended for it to become a symbol of revolution. Not many people would have understood the importance of this dress at first, but when those flames erupted and the actual design was shown, they immediately changed their tune. Yeah, Cinna wouldn't have expected to get out of this alive, but to him, the effort was surely worth the sacrifice.
It's like a bird. It's like a
Like a mockingjay.
Your stylist certainly has outdone himself this time, hasn't he?
Emma Stone is one of the most beautiful actresses working today, so I'm not even going to say that she had some ugly to pretty sort of transformation. Instead, I'll call this a sass glow-up. I'm not even entirely wrong in making that claim because her transition to Cruella was way too good to be ignored. More than a glow-up actually, this is a flame-up, as she manages to mark her entrance with a thrilling display using nothing more than a matchstick. The confidence and the attitude she shows here would make anyone go crazy, and I wouldn't blame that one reporter for immediately clicking pictures of her. The fact that Cruella was able to implant her dress with a bunch of moth cocoons overnight is just iconic. Normally, such things would be impossible to do overnight, but we're dealing with the world of fiction, so I'll allow it. The fashion in this movie was its main talking point, and Emma Stone owned all of it with utmost ease.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, hang on. We haven't started yet, darling. What was your name? Cruella. Oh.
Who's your mommy?
Everyone's about Daphne when it comes to the most attractive characters on Scooby-Doo, but they're really missing out on Velma, as long as it's not the weird Mindy Kaling version. Listen, I was personally ready to marry her even when she's shown as a nerd because she's just so adorable in that avatar. However, after her sudden makeover in Scooby-Doo 2, I'm sure I wasn't the only guy who went jinkies. Like, just look at her. Daphne doesn't even hold a candle to what we're seeing here. Yeah, the movie's title was definitely spot on about monsters being unleashed, especially after this scene. Also, if you don't know this, Velma's played by Linda Cardellini, who also plays Laura Barton, aka Hawkeye's wife. If the guy with the best eyesight chose her as his better half, then who are we to question anything?
You are as beautiful as ever. You're just so different than I expected.
I will be your sexy silk. Wrap me around, I'll be your pussycat lick.
Well, look at that. Emma Stone shows up once again in a compelling sequence. Okay, so this is by no means an ugly duckling, but you've got to appreciate how she goes from a 10 on 10 to 100 on 10 after her makeover in Easy A. Olive's already a pretty girl before the makeover, but she turns into a very, desirable woman after her change of outfits and choice of makeup. All of this does help her earn some quick bucks, but I've got to say, if the school nerd pulled up like this in front of me one day, then I'd totally fall in love with her. Plus, just look at all that confidence she's oozing in that walk of of hers. Olive knows she owns the space around her, and she just has fun with it. Some of her lines are also quite quotable too. Yeah, she's definitely the type of girl who can do both. And no, I don't mean the Britney Spears kind. Not to be rude to her, but she's kind of had the opposite effect of what this list is showcasing.
You're not friends anymore. Oh. We are officially over. Oh, rats. Hey, I want my juicy sweatshirt back. It was way too loose around your chest anyway. Ooh, burn.
Michelle Pfeiffer doesn't need any kind of glow up to tell us she's one of the most gorgeous women to have ever walked the earth. However, if she turns into Catwoman and puts on a rather alluring black latex suit, then I'm definitely counting it as a makeover. Selena Kyle was shown as a somewhat average looking woman in Batman Returns. To be honest, I think the main difference was the hair, which kind of became redundant after she got her suit. I also think they used some makeup to show Selena in a way that made her appear a bit older than she actually was at the time. Anyway, what matters is that she became Catwoman and wows us all with her signature look. There have been some decent contenders to this character like Halle Berry and Anne Hathaway, but to me, Pfeiffer is the perfect OG case study on Catwoman.
Who's the man behind the bed? Maybe you can help me find the woman behind the cat.
It really is tough to stay married in today's climate. People break up and get divorced almost as if they're rejecting a stale loaf of bread at a grocery store. So whenever you do come across a happily married couple, you can only wonder what they're doing to keep that spark alive. For starters, you can take a page right out of Jamie Lee Curtis's book, especially her role as Helen in True Lies. Going from geeky housewife to total bombshell was definitely a highlight for her, and we all know what particular scene I'm talking about when I say that she totally managed to keep her husband's interests engaged. I know that Harry was literally playing along and Helen didn't know that she was dancing for her husband, but damn, I'm sure Arnold Schwarzenegger's chopper got activated with this sequence. Okay, that might be a bit too much info, but just look at his eyes. Bro fell in love all over again.
Helen, wait.
Harry.
Yes, it's Harry. I know it looks bad.
The weird thing about hanging out with Regina was that I could hate her, and at the same time, I still wanted her to like me.
Okay. You have really good eyebrows. Thanks.
Lindsay Lohan has experienced one of the highest peaks an actress can have during her career, and a huge chunk of that is thanks to her role in Mean Girls as Katie Heron. That's probably the only reason a lot of dudes would have watched this movie, because it doesn't exactly scream testosterone-fueled greatness now, does it? Anyway, Katie's transformation to a babe was quite nice, but I feel the real shift was in her attitude. The woman had just spent so much of her daily life talking about Regina that she just had to find a way to get one on top of her, and she does succeed in that by taking Aaron away from her. Look, it's not like Regina is an angel or anything like that. I mean, she did deserve to get dumped, but maybe Katie could have been a little bit nobler in her approach. I mean, becoming attractive to seduce your friend's boyfriend can't be the only method you know. But hey, there's a reason this film is called Mean Girls.
I have to admit, I was mildly horrified when Aaron didn't immediately ask me to be his girlfriend. I mean, I know he was sad, but how much time did he need? Regina had moved on.
Tell me about it, Stud.
Damn, who would have thought that all these older movies would be getting so much attention today? Audrey Hepburn has already charmed us a couple of times, so now I guess it's time for Olivia Newton-John to take over. Her character Sandy was never really shown as an ugly duckling at all, but she was a bit geeky for sure. So when Danny and the boys got to see her new badass version, it was only natural for them to lose their minds. Danny in particular seemed to have completely gone crazy because bro broke into one of the most inexplicable dance sequences without warning. Yeah, I get that it's a musical and they need to do all these weird routines to entertain the audience, but damn, Sandy still manages to stand out even amongst all the other chaos. A lot of people say this movie hasn't aged well, and I guess they're somewhat right, but Jesus Christ, making almost $400 million on a $6 million budget is generational profitability.
only came to tell you that you and me can't go anywhere beyond this evening.
Oh, then you should have worn a different dress.
Yeah, I know it's kinda hard to imagine Jennifer Lopez ever needed a glow-up. However, I did start this video with a clip of Anne Hathaway, so anything is possible here, right? Made in Manhattan is an odd kind of movie, which I feel wouldn't have done well as if it were to be released today. So I'm glad it came out in 2002 and became a success amongst its audience. Marissa isn't exactly the kind of person who comes across as glamorous, but after a case of mistaken identity, she amps up her style to 1,000. The most noticeable slay from her end is when she arrives at the party, completely stunning Ralph Fiennes' character, Christopher. Like, this is the same dude who played Voldemort. If you can impress him with your charm, then no man is safe from you. Her entrance itself is so glamorous that it makes the whole thing seem like a Cinderella story. Plus, I'm sure most girls would have loved to have made a prom entrance like this one. It's too bad that Marissa's charm only works on the big screen and doesn't extend to Jennifer Lopez's behavior with Ben Affleck in real life. Yeah, bro, I feel for you.
Look, I've made so many mistakes already. I just don't want to make it worse.
You won't. I promise.
Look, the first time that you saw me, I was...
You were mesmerizing.
The Breakfast Club is an interesting movie because while it was marketed and presented as a comedy drama, the message of the film is actually timeless. Now, I won't get into the details of the film's themes and stuff, but there is one particular scene that shocks all the men of the group. It's when Claire helps Allison get a makeover and she manages to achieve it with minimal equipment. It's a very touching moment in general because Allison is a very awkward and reserved person who rarely interacts with people in the way she allows Claire to help her get a makeover. Yes, all the boys staring at her was a highlight, but remember that Allison didn't change her personality even after the glamour. After all, it's hard to change as a person when you've got the kind of baggage she does. Anyway, my favourite part of this sequence is how Brian gives his little approving smile to Allison, after which she whispers thank you to him. It's such a sweet and wholesome moment in general. Just a little gesture of being nice to someone who has no friends can go a long way. Too bad that Brian only wound up with his essay at the end of it all.
Let's do a makeover.
No. What my teachers say, I'm gonna be a supermodel, and everyone, I'm gonna be a supermodel.
To kick off a top 10 sequence on supposed ugly ducklings with a woman as dazzling as Brittany Murphy may seem a bit weird, but the way they nerfed her in Clueless has to be studied. That woman looked totally different in her geeky attire, and I didn't even realise it was Murphy till after her makeover. Kudos to the styling team for that. It does take a lot of effort to conceal such natural beauty. Cher and Dion obviously took it as a task when they decided to give Ty a change of style, and they just managed to pull off a stellar job, because this is easily one of the most distinguishable transformations you'll see on the list. I also like that they chose to keep Murphy's curly hair for even after the makeover. Usually we see the hair getting straightened whenever a girl's shown to transform into a more beautiful version of herself, but here's the thing, curly hair rules, and Ty's new look is further proof of that. More than anything else, this sequence goes to show how you don't need a professional glam squad to achieve stellar results. I guess you could say that the audience was indeed clueless when it came to what Ty could actually look like.
Some bump you got there.
Yeah,
Yeah? You ready to go back out there?
yeah, I am rolling with the homie.
Good, let's do it. You ready?
Hi. Is Katie ready yet?
Ready for what?
Andy, I'll be right down.
And take the brightest stars up in the sky.
Look, I may not be a father myself, but I do understand how stressful things can get for a dad who has a daughter entering her, exploration phase. Yeah, everyone should have the option to choose for themselves, but spare a thought for poor Doug here. The moment he saw Katie's makeover, he just knew that Andy wouldn't be the only guy trying to land a date with her. To be fair, Katie was assisted by Janet as she'd asked for help earlier, but that doesn't really come across as reassuring to the man who now has to worry about his daughter going out with the wrong kinds of people. I mean, Katie looked cute enough before the makeover, but afterwards, she's a total knockout. That spells complete doom to a dad who's overprotective of his daughter. But yeah, as far as Katie's concerned, she gets a massive glow up, and if my words aren't enough to convince you, then look no further than Andy's face when he notices Katie coming down. Yeah, that dude looked like he won the lottery, and that wouldn't even be an inaccurate statement. The real MVP shout out should go to Janet, but I won't praise her too much because I don't want Doug to come knocking at my door for encouraging such makeovers.
How? Total control.
total control. No boy comes in this house and takes my daughter anywhere unless I know who he is, where he lives, who his parents are, what they do for a living, and who they're going to be with. Total control.
That's brilliant, Doug. Good luck.
I've said before that Judy Greer really deserved a better acting trajectory than the one she has now. Not to discourage her or anything, because she has had a good career, but she should have been a lot more popular, you know? Anyway, I may not be able to change the past, but Fern's friends sure are able to change her look here. As far as the movie goes, I can't say much because the premise is a bit odd, but Fern's transformation was a whole other story. I do find it excessive, you know, with the shots constantly cutting to the coffin, but what really took me aback was that spinning motion. At one point, I started to wonder if I was the one getting a makeover, but by the time this sequence ends, we can see that Fern has indeed turned into someone else, a sassier version of her past self. Courtney was the main instigator of the makeover, and I gotta say, the woman definitely knew what she was doing, even though she's not exactly the most noble human being on the planet. I guess this scene stands out to me because of the visual style of its presentation. It's almost as if the audience is being put into a trance to experience Fern's transformation.
Anyway, you're extra fancy. You're Violet. My Violet.
Okay.
It doesn't take a lot for Nicolas Cage to go crazy. I mean, the man's built an entire film legacy based on his ability to completely lose it. In this case though, it's totally understandable to see him falling head over heels for Cher in 1987's Moonstruck. Playing a widow named Loretta, she's shown as a woman who gave up too soon after losing her husband. I mean, even before the tremendous makeover she gets here, Cher is no ugly duckling at all. As a matter of fact, I feel they just made her look grey so that she could come across as an old woman. Luckily for her, that didn't stay for long as she got the do-over of a lifetime. Loretta looks like a completely refreshed woman after stepping out of that salon, and she catches eyeballs immediately. And then, when we see her with Nick Cage's character Ronnie, we can totally relate to how he felt after noticing how beautiful she is. I'm not exaggerating when I say this, Cher looks absolutely stunning in this sequence. Heck, even the salon ladies look so excited while giving her the makeover. That's when you know you're going to witness a masterpiece after they're done.
Hi.
Hi.
You look beautiful. Your hair.
Yeah, I had it done.
Give you a makeover, silly.
Ah yes, the fatal attraction for every man of culture, aka the goth girl. These women have taken over meme culture in a way that they're presented as some kind of forbidden fruit. They're a reward that comes with a price, but simps are willing to risk it all just to experience even a fraction of their presence. Okay, that may have been a bit too dramatic, but it still doesn't come close to how this sequence played out in St. Trinian's. I'll admit that the goth look wasn't the only look they gave to Annabelle, but it was definitely the one that stood out the most, even though her final appearance was also pretty good. Tallulah Riley may be known for Westworld or for being Elon Musk's ex, but her moment to shine is right here as Annabelle. While it does look as if the others are trying to be commanding over Annabelle, it's still her choice at the end of the day. What I love most is how this makeover scene focuses on different styles and personalities, rather than the stereotypical sequence of the pretty girl taking off her glasses and revealing that she was pretty all along. The Greeks sure have a fun way of celebrating and partying, but in this case, their efforts extend to the art of beautification. Now, this scene has the main character, Tula Portokalos, going through a makeover so that she can feel better about herself. It's important to note that the process is shown nicely, and it also doesn't focus on losing weight like most of the other entries so far. Plus, she didn't do this for a man, but rather for herself, which does make the moment more in favour of the feminist, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. It's a very realistic depiction, and the transition is given time to breathe, so it doesn't come off as a sudden surprise to the audience. There's also the fact that she does it all by herself and doesn't have anyone do it to her. You know, out of every so-called ugly duckling makeover movie scene, Tula's is indeed one of my favourites. It's the definition of feeling good on the inside and looking good on the outside. When she decided to do what she wanted was when she ultimately put time into herself. You could tell she was happy, and at the end of the day, that's what one should call a true glow-up.
have gel in my hair. I haven't slept all night. I'm starved and I'm armed. Don't mess with me.
Sandra Bullock had a bit of a resurgence in her career thanks to the Netflix film Bird Box. That movie focused on people having to keep their eyes closed to survive the inexplicable monsters of their world. One thing's for sure, if those beasts looked like Gracie Hart after her makeover, I'm sure none of the men would have survived Bird Box. Being a tomboy sort of detective has its pros and cons, so when Hart is told that she has to go undercover as a contestant in the Miss United States beauty pageant, she definitely sees it as a con. Luckily for her, everyone else in the squad seems to be hell-bent on accomplishing this mission, so they do whatever they can to turn her from a badass cop to a glamorous beauty. And the final output is nothing short of stunning, with Sandra Bullock becoming an icon because of this shot. Now, the scene is great and all of that, but I've got to call out Michael Caine's character Victor for being a bit too involved with the process. Bro really wanted to craft a masterpiece via this makeover, and I can't blame the man for being a bit sus. He did succeed after all, didn't he?
Your hair should make a statement.
As long as it doesn't say thank you very much for the Country Music Award. Ow!
Yeah, you'll be lucky if I can get it untangled.
No mercy.
Hello.
Bikini wax.
Wow. So this is what it feels like to not be invisible.
Sometimes one person isn't enough. Sometimes you got to get the whole squad hyped to dazzle the audience, and that's exactly what happens here in The House Bunny. Look, I know this scene may not go down well with modern audiences, but I'm a guy who believes in equality, so I have to include an awesome makeover when I see one. If it helps, this movie had two primary writers, both of whom were women. I hope that addresses the elephant in the room, or in this case, the bunny in the room. The premise is rather simple. Former Playboy playmate Shelley gives a makeover to an entire group of nerdy girls, which includes Kat Dennings and Emma Stone, who's already appeared on this list. Yeah, they really went out of their way to make the women look, dorky, if you like. Trust me though, all those fake bellies and glasses ain't fooling anyone. Realizing that the girls need to slay, this is when Anna Faris steps up and teaches them all there is to know about the male gaze. An intense makeover follows, and the end result is so impressive that it had men glued to the cinema screens when the movie came out. You know what really upsets me about this sequence though? No college student would have the money to afford a Subway sandwich, much less to get a full-on Sephora level makeover for their whole dorm. The director should have definitely tried being more realistic.
You have a thicker hair, but like a wolf.
You broke my glasses.
You broke my brush.
Anne Hathaway started this video and she almost closes it as well, but the only reason she lands at number 2 is that I refuse to look that this woman can ever look less than perfect regardless of her outfit or makeup. To a lot of teenagers, this was their proper introduction to Hathaway, and I suppose that's why they're still in love with her. I mean, even without the makeover, she still looks super cute, and I'm not just saying that as a fellow man of culture. As a matter of fact, I'd say that her geeky version looks somewhat similar to Hermione Granger from Harry Potter. Yeah, we all know how many hearts she stole afterwards. Anyway, Mia Thermopolis has this really positive charm about her, despite coming across as a nerd who doesn't know much about looking pretty. However, all she needs is an NDA and a supreme makeover to look like a literal princess. As far as the process itself goes, it's nothing too fancy, just like most of the other entries we've seen so far. It's pretty much like every princess makeover ever. First you remove the glasses, then you let the hair down, straighten it, and then pluck a bit of the eyebrows. Yeah, that's literally all they did, and voila, you have one of the most beautiful creations of God right in front of your eyes.
Mamma mia! Look who's trying to fit in now.
It's a wig, right?
I think it looks really sweet, Mia. Looks like she got a head transplant.
Find me time after time, time after time.
I said it at the beginning of the video, and I'll say it again. True beauty lies within. However, when you see a makeover as prominent as this one, you just have to give it the top spot. Now, just so you know, 1992's Strictly Ballroom isn't like some ugly duckling turns into a swan kind of story. It's actually a musical comedy, so I'd say Fran's earlier look was very much intentional and even exaggerated to make her final transformation feel so elegant. She starts off as this really nerdy woman who becomes Scott's dance partner, and from the look on his face, we can already tell the Sigma male in him is very very disappointed. However, after Fran gets a makeover, it's almost as if she's a completely different woman. The dance performance that follows is probably one of the most romantic sequences I've ever seen from the 90s, although to be fair, that era was mostly known for gangster flicks and Jurassic Park. Anyway, it was a beautiful moment for Fran, and she totally deserved the spotlight here, even though the scene doesn't end exactly how a fairy tale romance would. Also, I don't know if you see this, but don't you think that Tara Morris looks a little bit like Rebecca Ferguson? Come on, I can't be the only one, right? Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video I know you're going to enjoy.